Hello, welcome back. In this video, we are going to do the tuning of the new road bike that we purchased. Now, if you haven't watched the first episode where we did the assembly, you can refer to this video and see how we actually assemble this bike from the box. We are going to do this today, which is to tune the bike. Now, for tuning, we are going to focus on two parts, which is number one, the brakes, number two, the gears. Now, with these two basic tunings that I'm going to show you, you'll be able to set up your bike to a rideable condition. First thing we're going to do will be the brakes. Now for the brakes, we're going to focus on a couple of things. Number one, the brake caliper distance. So we want to make sure that the brake caliper is in the right position, and then when we brake, we want to make sure that it gives us a very responsive braking that can allow us to stop in time. And the next thing we'll be doing is to make sure that the brake levers, okay, these are the brake levers, we want to make sure that the brake levers are also in the good position where we can reach easily. It's actually suitable for our finger length. Now in this tuning tutorial, we have to use a bike stand because we want the bikes to be when we are tuning, we want to be able to, the wheels to be able to move freely when we are doing the tuning of the gears. So we want that when you turn the pedals like this, we want it to be able to move. So you need a stand, proper stand, or you can use a stand like this, which actually mount onto your wheels. Alternatively, if you have someone strong at home, your little brother or what, you can ask them to actually hold the bike for you for maybe about 30 minutes to 40 minutes. I think it's good training for them. So yeah, get them to hold it for you. Then you can actually properly adjust the gears. Right, other than that, we will be also using some tools which are simple ones, like you can use the tools that were given by the manufacturer of the bike that comes in a box, like what we've been using in the last assembly video. Alternatively, you can use the tools, which we are actually using two very simple tools only, which is a size 10 spanner and a Phillips head screwdriver. So these are the only two that we need for this whole tutorial. Let's take a look at this front brake we have here. When I apply the brake fully, the wheel can still move, which means actually the brake calipers are too loose. The distance between the pads and the rim are actually too far apart, which means we have to close it up and make sure that the brake pads are closer to the rim, and when we apply the brake, it will be able to brake onto the rims properly. Now first we will have to loosen this. Is a size 10. Loosen this nut and use your left hand to press. Now when you press the caliper, you make sure that it's actually stop at a distance that is quite evenly for both sides, and it's not too far away from the rim. Right, once you hold it in this position, make sure that you pull the cable a little bit. You pull it tight and make sure that the cable now has no excess and it's all fully tight. Then you can tighten this screw so that you can keep the brakes in this position. So once it's tightened, when you let go, it will stay in this position. And when I apply the brakes, now I press the lever and apply the brakes, the brake pads will clamp onto the rim properly and tightly. This brake travel is still too large. It means when I press the brake, I have to press quite a lot before it can brake. So I will probably have to adjust it even further. I will close up the gap even more because I want a quicker brake and more responsive. So do the same. Just this time I will press the brake arms to a closer to a smaller distance, closer to the rim for both sides, but still they should not touch. When I press the brake, it will sit nicely onto the rim. Now this is quite a comfortable brake travel for me. and so I will keep it in this position. We move on to the rear wheel, and we realize that this rear wheel has got a different issue on its own. The brake pad is scratching, or in fact it's actually really touching the rim. Alright, if this happens, your rim will not be moving smoothly. So what we need to do is to adjust the position of the caliper. Now we will loosen the nut at the back of the caliper, the brake caliper. Loosen this. Okay, so as we loosen this, you can see that we are able to move the caliper arm. Okay, we are able to move the caliper arm. Adjust the caliper arms into a position that we want, so that it's evenly, the distance between the brake pads on both sides to the rim is even. Then we tighten this. We tighten back this nut at the rear. Okay, it's just a very minor movement. Now once you are done and it's tightened, pull the lever, pull the brake lever just to see whether, okay, pull it and let go, pull it and let go, just to see that the caliper arms are evenly open and return to the position that both pads do not touch the rim. Press, let go. Okay, then we are done here. Now we want to adjust the reach of our brake lever, now meaning that how far the brake lever is from the handlebar. Now if I put my hand here and apply the drop grip, and I realize that the lever is actually too close. Why do I say it's too close? Because for me, I'll prefer that when I brake, if the lever now I cannot really apply the force properly because it's sitting on the second joint. I'll usually prefer it to go a little bit further out, so that it's at the first and my outermost joint, the finger joint here, then I can actually apply the force very well. That's where I have a firm grip. So to do this, I'll need to move the lever outward, and to achieve that, we will just you find the adjustment screw inside here. You use a Phillips head screwdriver and you turn it anti-clockwise. Now when you turn it anti-clockwise, the lever here will move outward. So I will have to turn it anti-clockwise a few more times and test along the way. Right, it's moving outward now. Now at this, let me see. Okay, so you can see now the lever is actually much more closer to my the third joint, the final joint on my finger, and I have a much more comfortable grip. I can reach, the reach is just nice, perfect for my finger length right now, and I can apply the force very well for the drop grip as well as a hood grip. Even my third finger can actually all reach for proper brake. We move on to the other brake, and we realize that for this side, the brake lever is a little bit far out, so I have my finger can't really reach it. It's all the way at the tip of my finger. That is not very comfortable for me for both of the different grips. Right, so I have to actually move the brake lever closer. For this brake, I will actually illustrate to you how to do it slightly differently. If you cannot find the adjustment screw like what we did just now, you can actually open up the rubber cover at the hood or the brake. Okay, open it out, and then you see clearly this is the screw, the adjustment screw that we want to adjust. Again, use this screwdriver. Remember to move the brake lever closer, you need to turn it clockwise. So when I'm turning it clockwise, you can see the lever is actually moving closer. Alright, so as you turn, try it. I'll try my finger. Alright, now seems to be about nice. It's about just nice for me, where it's sitting nicely at the joint, and I can apply a very powerful brake if I need to. I can apply it easily and comfortably for both different grips. right? And then you are done. But don't forget to cover it up, cover back, put the rubber cover back to its original position properly. There's this groove around here, so just make sure the groove sit nicely back onto where it's supposed to be and it doesn't come out. We are now done with the brakes, and we'll move on to the last part of the tuning, which is the gears. Now for gear, we will touch on the rear derailleur as well as the front derailleur, and we will start with the rear derailleur. Let me just briefly explain to you the gear and their respective numbers. We always start with the biggest gear is actually number 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So here for the heaviest gear is actually gear 7. So this is gear 7, this is gear 1. Light, heavy. The light gear, which is gear 1, is the lightest gear and is good for climbing of slope, whereas the heaviest gear, gear 7, is good for speed when you're going on when you want to achieve your top speed. Now we start with gear 7. We want to make sure the derailleur is in the right position and and is parallel to gear 7. So shift your shifter all the way to gear 7, and at gear 7 adjust the limit screw. What are limit screw? Limit screw is the screws. These two are the limit screws. The limit screws are actually those that limits the position of the derailleur. For here at gear 7 is the high gear, so we look for the high gear limit screw, the screw that has an indication. There should be a marking that says H, and for this one is here. Now note that if I turn this limit screw clockwise, the derailleur will shift inward towards the wheel. If I turn the screw anti-clockwise, it will shift outward. So we want to make sure that the derailleur is parallel to gear 7. Alright, when it's done, you can actually turn the wheel to see whether there's any noise. If there is, keep adjusting it until there is no noise and it's parallel. You can see the chain move quite smoothly. When we're done with gear 7, we will then shift to gear 1 and tackle the lowest gear limit. Now we're at gear 1 all the way, so we do the same for the low gear limit. For the low gear limit screw, if I turn it clockwise, it's going to push the derailleur outward. Alright, you can see properly. If I turn it anti-clockwise, the derailleur will shift towards the wheel. Okay, so we want to make sure that the derailleur here is actually parallel to the gear 7. So same thing, we will turn the pedal, we'll pedal and make sure that it's in the right position such that there's no noise. Okay, now you understand the lower limit screw, how it works. What I want you to do is, after you loosen it all, just start to turn it clockwise until you reach a point where you feel resistance. At this point I feel the resistance. I can no longer turn it without much force. So any further I will have to apply some force. Now, because if I apply a force from here, it's going to shift the derailleur outward. That's where I don't want it to happen. I want it to be just at the point when it starts. This is just nice, the point where I shift my shifter further, I press my shifter further, and the derailleur won't move any further out. If it doesn't move any more out, then the chain will not drop out of the gear when I'm shifting to the lighter gear. Similarly, for the front derailleur, we will do the same to adjust the limit screws to the right position. For the front gears, you can see the one that is closer to the inside is the small gear, gear 1, and the one outside will be gear 2. So similarly, we find the low limit, because this is gear 1, so we find the lower limit. At the lower limit screw, if you turn it clockwise, it will shift the derailleur outwards. If you turn it anti-clockwise, it will shift the derailleur inward. So we just want to make sure that the derailleur, the inner wall of the derailleur, is slightly away, about 1 mm away from the chain, such that the chain when moving will not touch the inner wall when at this lowest gear ratio. We do not want to leave too much of gap between the chain and the inner wall, just in case that the chain may fall out while you're riding. We will do the same for the upper limit. So shift the gears to gear number 2 for front derailleur and gear number 7 for the back. Now at this point, we want to make sure the chain and the outer wall of the front derailleur is not too far apart. Just make sure it's about 1 mm to 2 mm difference. And to do that, we will adjust the high limit screw, turn it clockwise, and the derailleur will shift inward. And we want to make sure that there's no scratching of the outer wall, the outer derailleur wall, and the chain. We do this to prevent the chain from shifting or dropping out of the highest gear when you're actually shifting it. So we are done with the tuning, and what we have actually covered today are the most basic for your brake as well as your derailleur. But if you have done these tunings, at least will ensure that when you go for your ride, you can actually brake properly, as well as to prevent your chains from dropping out when you are shifting your gears. Now, but for very detailed tuning, or what we call the fine tuning of your bikes, it's actually another lesson for another day. We will probably do it in the future, or you can actually visit your local bike store, someone you trust, to do the fine tuning for you, because it takes a little bit of experience, knowledge, and in-depth skills to do it properly. So thank you for watching. If you have any question, drop a comment in the box below, and if you enjoy this video, do like and subscribe to our channel. So next episode, we'll be taking this bike out and do a test ride to see how it actually performs and how it feels right on this first road bike that I've chosen.